So I thought I'd just bring you up to speed with the things that I've been working on this week for my degree show. I'm working on natural pigments and natural dyes at the moment, and I've been starting with a very basic thing which is recommended in a lot of the books, which is to work with avocados. Now obviously these aren't natural to my woodland home, which is the basis of a lot of my degree show work, but they are natural plant materials and they are waste products from the smoothies that we have for our breakfast in the morning. So I thought it was fair that I could actually include those in the materials that I'm working with. I did a lot of research, and it was recommended that if you are storing a lot of these for a long period of time, that you actually put them in the freezer. So my avocado skins and the pits were in the freezer for a couple of weeks while I gathered some together. And then during the week I started a dye bath, initially on the cooker just to warm it up a little bit, and then put it onto the wood stove just to keep it at a very low temperature. And I used quite a lot of these pits. I'm not sure how many, but I think it must have been at least a dozen of them. And so I chopped them into about 8 pieces each after letting them defrost a little bit, obviously to avoid any injuries. And the skins were ripped up into small pieces to maximise the surface area for the dye to be released. And you can see from some of these ones here that I've got today, where they start to oxidise, you start to get this lovely orange colouring coming out. So those are ones that I'm preparing for the next batch, and in the meantime I've been doing some other dyes which are they're a lot weaker in colouring. This one I'm not sure if you can actually really see the colour truly, but it's a sort of very pale grey green, and this was from nettles that I gathered. And again, they were I picked a lot of them in one morning and put them in some water on the top of the stove, the wood stove, and they were left to very, very slowly and gently immerse in there. And then when they've been there for probably a couple of hours, I then put this test piece of fabric in, and this has then been left for a couple of days in that pot, still with the plant material in there. It was an old aluminium teapot, so aluminium is very good for helping to secure the dye in the fabric. So that hopefully has assisted that to stay there. This is canvas that I have got from the newer 3D workshop, which is the piece that I'm working on will eventually be 4 meters long, and it's just over 2 meters wide, and it's a 9-ounce cotton canvas, which I prepared by gently washing in an eco soap, which they recommend. It's called scouring, to remove any of the grease that might be on the fabric surface. So I did that first. The particular pieces, some of the test pieces were also, these pieces were soaked in a diluted mixture of soya milk, which is something I've been recommended to do to help also secure the colour in particularly a plant material fabric. So that's what I've done there. That's the nettle one, and this slightly more yellowy green is from a red nettle, so a smaller amount of that, and I tried that piece too, using the same process. And then these two lovely coloured pieces, which I don't know if you can see, this was the avocado pits when they had been in for a few hours on the wood stove, and then I left this piece in to soak, and that's obviously that beautiful cinnamon colour, quite different to another trial test piece that I did, which actually came out previously with a very pale peachy apricot colour. I think they were fresh avocados that I used in that particular instance. So having extracted that dye bath, I drained that one off, and then I started it again using the same pits and skins, and this second time round it's obviously quite a lot paler, but I will probably be using that as well. I've got to give that a chance to dry off, and then we'll see what we do with that next. So that's the things that I've been doing so far. In my next video I'll just show you the very large piece of fabric that I have put into the dye bath that came from this first avocado pit brew, I should imagine you call it. And that is currently hanging on the washing line, drying off at the moment, before I possibly over dye it with a different colour. I've also got an iron mordant bath, which is an iron mordant brew, which is basically lots of iron pieces in a jar filled with 1/3 white vinegar, 2/3 water, and I'm preparing that because that can be used to alter the colours of some of the other dyes. So I will be also playing with that in due course, and I'll show you the video when that comes up. Hopefully you can see these. I'm not sure if you can see these in the sunlight. There we go. Those lovely colours. They're quite subtle. A lot of the dyes are quite subtle, but hopefully that should be something that we can work with. Thank you very much. See you soon for the next video.